regret it in a sense, where I called my mom and I apologized to her and I said, I'm so sorry, I think I killed your husband.
Yo, I had the craziest dream that I killed someone, man. It was, I don't know, man. It felt a bit too real, man. Like, it was, I don't even want to, like, this shit was crazy.
3, 2, 1. Them again.
I would kill them again. Yo, they're not saying that again. If you're fucked up in the head, you'll say that again. Bullshit.
1, go.
Strongly agree. Strongly agree. Oh, nah, they're crazy.
And he was my friend, and what happened was an accident, and I would give anything to have him back. My name's Forrest, and I accidentally shot and killed my best friend when I was 22 years old.
Accidentally?
I felt like a shattered person most of my life, and there are still shards missing.
You don't accidentally do that shit.
I just spent the last 5 years writing a very painful memoir. It gave me an opportunity to visit a lot of past trauma. I feel in a strong space to be a support for other survivors and create positivity in the world.
Survivors of what?
All my killing has been in the time of war, so I agree with what I've done. Would I do it again? I would.
I forgot about that.
Because if I didn't kill that individual, they would have killed me or somebody else. I was a sniper, so I'm looking after a platoon.
Oh yeah, so he was basically killing people that were caught lacking.
Guys, sometimes as small as 6 guys. But I don't strongly agree with it because of the after effects, like what it did to me mentally. You know, I was the first person I killed, I was 18, and I didn't stop until I was almost 25. So I don't regret any of it. I don't have any bad feelings towards those individuals that I did kill. They were just protecting their homeland just as much as I would too. So I would do it again to save my life or somebody else's life.
I work in healthcare. What I do is I manage life support. So I'm the guy that pulls the plug on just about everybody. So I come from a very different perspective.
All different. There's very different perspective.
For babies.
I want to know a gem. Like, is there actually like a murderer in it? Like someone that's generally like killed a nigga, like properly, like with intent of killing someone. Actually, they wouldn't be here, right?
Like people at the end of
actually, they would. Yeah, they could have
been doing
served
it for like
life.
over a dozen years now. So I'm like, okay, I've come to terms with what the job is. So, yeah.
The crime and how it happened, it was not, I didn't go out to kill this person. And now understanding the impact that the crime had, not only on me, but the family of that person. That was a human being that I killed over some drugs, right? And his children, his family is living still in the absence of this person. It was December the 24th, Christmas Eve.
He's grown a lot. He seems like he's very well spoken.
This particular car came up. And the passenger in the car said, hey, I want to buy some drugs from you. So I told one of my friends, I'm like, he's known to be this person that will come through the community and ask for $100 worth of drugs, but he never has the money. And the guy did exactly what I said. He knocked the drugs out of my friend's hand, grabbed his arm, and started speeding off. And my reaction at that time was I pulled out the gun and I started shooting into the car to get him to release my friend. And days later, we heard that the bullet that I shot into the car actually killed him. To that day, I will never forget December the 24th, when that happened, the day before Christmas.
I would 100% do what I had to do over again.
Okay,
because the guy was a serial perpetrator. He was after so many women. If he killed me, he would have went after my mom, all my family, my nieces, my nephews,
Is this that Bob guy? Bob Mundy or some shit?
I'm Tara Newell. I killed my attacker, Dirty John Meehan, in self-defense. I think it was really interesting how there was one person here who had experienced prison reform, because to me, my attacker would have been in there if I hadn't killed him in self-defense. And it's really interesting to hear about how there are people in there who are able to
Nah, she clutched up, I'll be real. She would have been in the...
regretted it. 3, 2, 1, go.
This guy killed his best friend. This is crazy, though.
Why do I strongly disagree? Like I said, I was a young kid. I was 18.
Yeah, he's fighting for his country, man.
The 50 cal like machine gun. I was expecting it to be like the movies where you have this like feeling of when you kill someone, and it wasn't there. I didn't really feel anything. It wasn't until like that night I had this weird dream. The guy who I shot became a ceiling fan in my room. His arms and legs were the blades. His head was the center of the fan.
Jesus.
And I watched him spin faster and faster until he tore apart and covered me in what he used to be, what was left of him. But no, I didn't feel anything. There was nothing like to feel. I knew that was the beginning of something that I was probably going to have to do for a while. No attachment at the time.
I can agree.
That's the thing with the army, bro. And it's the fact they don't even cover you like whatsoever. There's a lot of fucking homeless people that have generally came out of the army, and it's like, bro, they go through all of that. They become numb to death, chat. Deep it. They become fucking numb to death. They become numb to death, and they still don't get any sort of like anything. It's crazy.
With you on that, I mean, identify with that, because my first couple of years inside of prison, I detached from it completely. When people would mention his name, I would like,
nah, bro. There's a lot of like army vets that are just generally on the street. There's a lot of army vets that I hear of that are on the street, like, bro, they're just trying to live. I don't actually know the reason why they do become homeless. I haven't really looked into it too much, but I just know that a lot of it is because of army.
See him as a human being, and that was very insensitive when I look back at it now, right? But I look and say that was a way of me coping with the situation at that time.
I did immediately.
They become homeless usually after they've retired. So yeah, they get paid a lot when they're in the army. They don't become homeless. Maybe they retire. Yeah. When they retire, yeah. Get trauma, PTSD, yeah, all that.
I did it in a sense where I called my
mom. Not whilst in the army.
And I said, I'm so sorry, I think I killed your husband. So there was that, but then there was also the sense of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to keep looking over my shoulders anymore. I don't have to live in this fear that he's going to actually come after me, because it already happened.
Sometimes family members don't agree with the decision, and that decision is sometimes taken away from them. Being called every name in the book as I'm walking in there.
I couldn't imagine like having a stalker, bro. Like imagine the fact that you have to walk out every day, go to work, for example, and you know someone may be watching you, and like, bro, that feeling of just I would feel tense all the time. I don't know how people like live with it. Like, I would generally want to find that guy and just like, I don't even know, man. I don't know what I'd do to him.
But if they just don't agree, and then I'm like, I just have to go do this now.
Because I do not want to feel that tense for the rest of my life, man.
Good, or like I'm not necessarily agreeing with it. So I'm like, I disagree. Yeah.
The level of heartbreak that I felt immediately after.
I want to know his story. I keep saying it, but I want to know it.
Indescribable, and.
He keeps replaying it back in his head.
I don't know if any of you have saw Red before, but I actually saw Red. And it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen, experienced, witnessed, felt in my life. I got charged with first-degree murder that night, and I was looking at doing 35 to life here in California.
Wow.
I couldn't even process that. There was just so much a combination of horror and grief immediately.
He shot his best friend, I'm pretty sure, that guy.
I am desensitized to death.
The army guy's definitely done that.
3,
he's definitely
2,
he's desensitized 100%.
Go.
Really? Army guy isn't?
Somewhat agree. Why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
I do a lot of volunteer work, and the amount of people who are dying from drug overdoses and suicides right now in the arena of trauma.
I'm surprised the guy that was in the army isn't desensitized to death. Because, bro, once you shoot people, like, once you see bare people around you die so often and you shoot people, they die, obviously. Like, you would get desensitized. Right? I'm surprised he's not up there.
It's becoming difficult for me to feel anything anymore.
Oh,
with the amount
empathy.
of people that we're losing that we don't have to.
So why the fuck you in that job
like
if
playing God, you know?
Oh,
I determine the time, place, when I'm gonna take that person off this planet. And it put things into perspective for me too, that I could be going at any certain time. Like when you have to pull it, you know, you don't know when that card is gonna be pulled. So I've learned to value it more and know that it's very fragile, very frail. And to not feel anything towards killing someone would probably be more devastating to me than actually taking the life, is not feeling.
Hold on, I need to clarify something.
Yeah.
I just want to be very clear that being desensitized in no way means that I don't value life.
Oh, yeah.
It's just difficult to
Manage to
feel the morning
you get desensitized from when you feel low?
over and over again.
over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like there will be certain stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But if someone just tells me like, oh, that person died of a heart attack, I'm just like, oh, okay.
I feel like that's very normal though. A lot of people think like that though. Like if I don't personally know you and they die of like any like just a bad circumstance, like something bad happens, like you're not entitled. You shouldn't feel bad that you don't feel away. Like you don't feel like bad for them because you don't know the person. You'll just be like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, rat-a-ta-ta, and then just go. Hey, I wouldn't say that you're desensitized from death just because you feel that way.
Like it just like there's no traumatic incident with that, so I'm like my brain just disassociates, and it's like, okay, oh, they died naturally. So
And from where I come from, like I get to know a lot of these people. If I don't get to know them, I get to know their family members like very intimately.
So basically they wouldn't, what's it called? So in movies, they wouldn't cry over like, I don't know, someone that you like, a character you loved because it's just a random person to them. I don't know. I want to know how if they ever like really cry in movies or they're that desensitized to death.
It's not immediate, like, oh.
Because there's some anime shit,
coming
man.
in and
I be crying.
No,
to
it's like
should be
weeks,
sad,
months. I've had somebody like their 5-year-old son, and he was in the room, and I'm like, I gotta take your mom away now. And it's like after that, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my God,
that's
I'll go
deep.
call my mom or I go call my dad. It's like it's really heavy, but I feel like you said, like a sense of maximization of like. I don't know when my number is going to be called, because even if I'm working in the emergency room, we've worked on somebody for 2 hours and they're like, we really can't do anything anymore. And I'm like, just like that, gone. I remember this one
Was he a doctor or something?
patient. It was
Respiratory
very much like
therapist.
nobody was there. They just found him on the street. He didn't even have a wallet. He was clinically dead, brain-wise, so we couldn't really do anything anymore. Me, the nurse, and the doctor just stayed in that room until his heart rate left, because we didn't want to see him leave by himself. That was one of the most sobering moments too. It's like as much
That's
as it
fucked.
was nice for us to do
That man was just.
I just
how
don't
did
want
he
strangers
get like that?
seeing me off.
I think for me as a teenager, selling drugs, just hanging in the streets, just living a lifestyle that I didn't care if I killed someone. I was very desensitized. I didn't care. I didn't feel no remorse for it. And this is was part of my own personal development. I needed to find a way to attach to that. So I started doing this hospice training inside of one of the prisons. By listening to these individuals tell their story and the regrets that they were living with in their process of transitioning, it gave me a sense of a value of life now.
Facts.
You know, and it shifted my mindset as this
spit.
teenager who
That
was
man
very
is
callous
spitting.
towards life at that time.
I've taken care of people. They're being on life support. They'll hang on for like a very long time till one specific person sometimes just visits them. And then I'm like, I can't explain that. I could take them off, and their heart rate will keep going and going and going.
One of the guys I was working with in the prison, he wanted to see his sister. So this dude held on until like his sister walked into the room.
What?
And
That's a thing.
And he was like not consciously, but like she spoke to him and she started like talking to him, and you started seeing him move. And then soon as she was like, I'm leaving, And like within minutes, it's kind of like transition.
Yeah, with my situation, I made him brain dead, and so he was in the hospital. And then when they pulled the plug on him, my mom literally had to tell him it's okay to go now. And then he left.
Wow.
There's some weird things about that.
Yeah.
I think we're more than just our brain, right?
Yeah.
We're spirits living in flesh, man.
Yeah.
That's all.
I am also a victim. 3, 2, 1, go.
Victim of what?
I feel weird,
We're not trying to single you out.
but I feel like I have to.
Hey, she
be
was the
over
one that
here
she was getting
because
targeted,
The guy
100%.
came after me. I was in a parking garage. I was just trying to go to the Jason Aldean concert that night. He started attacking me, stabbing me, and I fought back and I won. So I didn't ask for any of that. I honestly
she a
hated
fighter.
the guy, and I wished he would be dead, but I never wanted to unalive or take someone's life.
My first couple years in prison, I saw myself as the victim, right? And that was, again, a way of me coping.
Victim of the system.
As I continue to do some
I would say he was
interpersonal
he was
work, I
definitely a
realized that I
victim
was
of the
not a
system.
victim, that I still made a choice in the crime that I
But
did.
yeah, he's
right?
still,
But
yeah.
I just wanted to share that. Like I wanted to run over there, but I'm in this place of healing and reconciliation, and I had to like move away from the victimization
I would say he's still a
mindset
victim.
and take ownership for the decision that I
Bro,
actually.
you're never gonna grow if
pulled
you
the
have that
trigger,
victim mindset.
Committed the crime,
that's-
unfortunately, and someone died,
That's
and I
facts.
have to take that on because that's part of my own personal growth and development. I remember on a Friday night, 3 years into my incarceration, I remember laying in my bed watching this show called Dateline, and for the first time, I heard a mother really expressing her loss for the loss of her loved one, and that was that moment in my life where I connected with that. I'm like, yo, I did the same thing, and I went into a fetus position and I started praying, and all I kept hearing hearing this voice saying, I have forgiven you. You have to ask Gary, the guy that you killed, to forgive you. And in that process, this is where I began. I remember saying, Gary, would you forgive me? And I literally felt like in that moment, he forgave me, and I heard it. And it's almost like a weight was lifted off of me, and that's when I began this cleansing, this process of healing and moving forward and finding a purpose and finding my voice and all of that particular night inside of that prison when I surrendered to it.
No, I don't feel like I'm a victim for anything.
It's
chose that.
very rare for people really that go in prison to really spin their life around. And he's done his thing. You can't knock it, man. You can't knock someone that does that.
That path started off wanting to be a Navy SEAL when I was like in elementary school. My mom helped me make my first ghillie suit when I was in the 6th grade.
Wow.
Like it's something I've always wanted to do, and I knew it came with that, which was more than likely having to kill someone, especially in the time of war.
Yeah, I'm not a victim, but the only thing I would say is like they don't really prepare us into doing the job that we do. They do the day-to-day thing. Oh, this is what you do, this is what you chart, and all that stuff. And then now you're like, oh, by the way, the doctor wrote the order. Go take him off, and
That's crazy.
now I gotta walk in, or like if it's a
The
baby,
way they
they're
write it
still
down is like
holding
it's so
them
normal,
in
man.
their
Which it is
hands
there,
and stuff.
which is crazy.
And like go take them off, and so I never really thought about it. Like nobody's like talked to me or anything. Like, by the way, this is where you're gonna feel afterwards, or like when you get home after you clock out and everything.
Because it's normal
Yeah, we
for
didn't
them.
have a handbook on that either. Like,
Yeah.
they teach you how to kill, but there's no
How to process.
how to process it.
I have
I don't think there's any way.
profited from your murder.
Everyone really processes
3,
shit differently, so there's not really a
2,
way to teach them.
1, go.
What's the question?
3, I have profited from the murder. 3,
Oh,
2,
she did.
1,
He didn't.
go.
They didn't. He didn't either. He didn't either. She's the one. She's the own.
Someone called murder.
That word's kind of
Strong, yeah.
Profited was crazy though. Profited of a death or something.
Why don't you like that word? I don't like it
All
either.
right, I don't think it applies universally,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely,
Homicide is a universal term. As far as profiting from any part of my story, no. I've spent the last 5 years struggling to write and publish a book, and I've spent about 80 G's on it and made about 4,000. And that's not why I did it. I did it because I want to help people, but I don't think that it's very common for people to profit off of
It's an
recovery from
80
stuff,
80 bags.
Well, maybe it is. I don't
Yo,
know.
that's
I guess
crazy.
we'll go over here then. My attacker, my show got made into a podcast called Dirty John.
Oh.
And then it got made into a documentary, a TV show on Bravo, and now on Netflix. And so
That's fucked.
I felt
So
like
his name
I've
profited.
been exploited in
His
a
name
sense
profited.
because I did not make anything off of the podcast. Although people think I profited off my story, I did not.
But also, and you get paid to take his life.
No, not at all.
Okay, so if you profited off of if I profit off of anything, it's my hard work afterwards.
Yeah.
It's my hard work to share and be of service. So no, you didn't. People hate profit. Sometimes they just hate you just because you made money.
Yeah.
For me, as a speaker and a trainer, I struggled with that for a long time, right? You know, I committed this crime, and yes, I did all of the work that I have done to become the man that I am today. But then I don't sleep at night.
I think we watch a couple more vids, yeah, and I'm a hop on the Evil Within for a bit, until what? Maybe for like 2 hours. I hop on that because we're close to finishing the game. I can't. Are you staying up, Deadshot? What time are you going to bed? Cause is it Friday? It's Friday now. What you got tomorrow? Are you off?
Right,
Soon.
knowing that I've made this bag of money or whatever. Any money I get, I want to be able to live comfortable. It's not about getting something in luxury. How could I help some young person? So we do the nonprofit work. But my 5-year goal now, or 10-year goal, is to use whatever profit I make is to create a foundation in honor of Gary. Going back to that promise I made to him almost 30 years ago inside of a prison cell.
It initially started as me writing a journal. My dad suggested I did that. I was going through a hard time, self-medicating and contemplating some bad decisions. Started off as that, and it got picked up by a major book publishing company, and it went on to become essentially like an autobiography of that time in. After accomplishing
So he did
that,
profit.
I went on to what I do currently, which is write, novels and stuff like that. Not
Wow.
based on my life, because I did feel a certain way about it, of profiting from killing, I get what you're saying too. All the work that you put in there after.
I would say that the army profited a lot from him killing, because they most probably won. You get me, the war.
That's on you, but I also see it as,
But actually, I don't even know
I
what
killed
wars
all
he
these
was in, so I
guys
can't really
and
say that.
I wrote a book about it and profited from it.
Were you an E4, E5?
E5, yeah.
That's all the money you made off it.
Right?
Once again, complex issue that gets lumped together. If somebody's has money, they
E4,
must be
E5.
doing something for
bad,
profit.
yeah.
And I think where an answer is, do we follow purpose or do we follow the money? It's gonna go away when I die. It's not gonna
Yeah.
matter.
I know, but you have to live off money. You can't just say that. You have to
It's gonna matter
unless
when
you go
I die.
off the
It's what I
grid.
did. Am I proud of myself for
Yeah.
the things that I
100%.
did?
I often see money more of like as an amplifier for what people can do, what reach they can do.
Yeah, we take a big impact on now,
Yeah.
knowing when I go speak to young people today about gun violence and about my story, the only way they can get out of a situation is if I have money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That I can create a safe space for them to go after school. So I have to make some money to be able to do that, you know what I mean? But I don't want to
So
make
it's
a
an
bunch of
amplifier.
money and I'm living here and then I walk into the community and say, hey, young kids, put the guns down, prison, say no to prison, and then I drive away in this nice car and forget about them, right? So that's where I'm at, purpose for me is about how do I make impact in the lives of the people that I serve.
Taking a life was part of God's plan for me.
I feel like everything happens for a reason.
3,
That's a fact check,
2,
right?
1.
Everything happens
go.
for a reason. So it was God's plan. It was. Strongly disagree.
I'm unclear with that one. That's why I'm like this.
You're on the other side.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
It was
who I am
your
today.
fate.
To be able to have the experience that I've had and become who I've become without taking a life. I learned my lesson after all the killing. My last deployment dropped over 30 guys, 33 people, and who knows how many before that. But what I had to get through and overcome to stand here today far exceeded anything I've done in the military. Being emotionally somewhat strong and what I've had to overcome. There's been a lot of dark nights where didn't think I was gonna be here,
why I'm like this.
Yeah, I know what you mean though, yeah.
I don't want it to be perceived to be insensitive about the victim.
Yeah.
Right? But I know on this part of me, I look at my friends
Oh, I
who
see.
I grew up with at 19 years old. And
I mean, to be honest, yeah, you can't even though the death was like, he wasn't expecting it. Bro, I'd be real, that guy was gonna die either way. This man was doing the stupidest shit ever. Bro was stealing drugs from drug dealers that have Glocks on them. And you're telling me he survived long enough, like he's gonna die at some point. If he keeps doing that and not paying them, like what? It was his fate. Like I said, fate, chat. Like, yeah, it was bad, like he killed someone and he like, you get me? But it was his fate that he was gonna die because, bro, at that point, you're just doing stupid shit. You want yourself to die. Like, you're gonna get killed like that.
2 years in prison, and when I came back home, they were at the same spot under the same tree.
But I don't know about this guy though. He killed his friend. I don't know if that was fate though. I know that's crazy to me. Best friend as well.
Over here, I think about the Gold Dingers family because their son is like, oh, God destined my brother or my son to die. You know what I mean? So.
But if you believe in God, then that would be. He already knew that before.
I get that part. I mean, I'm a spiritual man, right?
Yeah,
but I'm
same.
just like, I don't want it to. It's just that's my dilemma when it comes
If
to.
there's a God, I don't think that he's letting some kid be blown apart in Iraq because he's busy helping me look for a parking space. Right? I don't think that the realm of the spirit is as concerned with human affairs. I think that the sun rises and sets for a reason. It rockets through space at 40,000 miles an hour with a bunch of rocks around it for a reason, and animals have instinct for a reason.
So yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Free will.
It's a little different.
Free
and I
will.
think things just happen sometimes. There doesn't have to be meaning or a plan.
But then it's hard for a person who lost a loved one to wrap that. For me, my homicide is completely different than most of you in this room. Is someone died by me pulling this trigger. And I can't say it was in God's plan.
I pulled the trigger too.
Yeah.
I thought the gun was empty. And I still can't wrap my head around a stupid decision like that. Even though that it malfunctioned.
I see what happened. Why would you just... No. What type of friend is that though? Why are you even aiming a gun at your friend? Like... Come on now. Why are you even aiming a gun at your friend in the first place? Even if it was empty, like, that's just weird, man. That's like some weird behavior. Is that what they used to do? Like, is that banter to him? Like, what?
Acted unloaded. Had I done all the right things, the 4 safety rules, it never would have happened. And I was nervous coming here because I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking. And I had no intent at all. There's no way I would have as soon put it to my head or at the floor or whatever. And I can't remember ever doing that before or after. And it was a mistake.
I think
I don't get why you wouldn't
it
check
was
them out.
part of my dharma. I'm a little bit more spiritual, so I think it was my life's
Dharma?
purpose, to be honest. Because of what I do today, whenever I speak, I always have people contact me and say that they left an abusive relationship or what I shared helped them get out of their attack.
Sharing your story helps other people. And you feel that.
I call it transparency transports people. That's why I'm like really honest about who I am, because there's someone else, not just in a physical prison, but an emotional, mental prison. And by hearing your story, hearing all of our stories, it helps transport them to another space of showing that I can't escape this particular prison.
After having this discussion, Lester, choose a side.
Oh. He's gonna go disagree. He's gonna go agree.
I was gonna say,
I would say agree.
It's fair to make you choose a side. You believe what you believe.
I'm gonna stand just a little bit over like respectful.
I really like what you did, man, because we move in seconds and inches.
Yeah.
We measure progress in like
I'm right here.
years, you know?
This guy's looking too...
kind of a lot.
He's looking too deep into that.
This episode was just sort of intense, and I think I need a little time to debrief now.
Okay. There are enough resources for me to heal. Enough yeah, of course. I don't know what they mean by resources though.
3,
What does that
2,
even mean, Jack?
1.
Resources.
When I was in the military, it was like looked down
That's
upon.
stuff to help you get over it.
Go seek mental help or anything.
like therapy.
You'd get kicked off the team, you know, in a heartbeat. I don't want a guy who's soft watching my back, you know, or what I perceived at the time to be soft. Yeah. After each deployment,
I see.
our therapist was like a 18-wheeler truck full of kegs of beer and more beer. And 12 hours ago, I just took a life, 21 years old, at a strip club in Atlanta, drinking, you know, till my eyes pop out to cope. We would talk to like a psychiatrist, but we were encouraged to write down, you know, I didn't have this emotion, I didn't see this, so we could get home early to see our family. But 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to talk to someone and figure out why I was the way I was, because I wanted to change. I didn't like being, everywhere I went, you know, I'm looking at everyone and it's gonna sound so bad, but I was polite to everybody who I met, but I always in the back of my mind had a plan to kill them, just in case the situation presented itself. If something went south, I've already mapped out and planned for 3 different scenarios how I would kill this person. And I was comfortable being in that state of mind because it kept that protection.
Overthinking.
You know, that
that's like the pinnacle of overthinking.
It gets
thinking everything is just
to always be that way.
Of course.
For me, I look at this, right?
Jeez.
I want to run over here to the strongly disagree. It's almost because of the length of your sentence, and you, like I was serving life, I didn't become eligible for most of the classes in prison until I came down to my last 3 years in prison, right? Now I have to run back over here to strongly agree. After being a person who's been released from prison, I've learned these different things that now help me to cope with all of the stuff that comes with me living inside of a prison, not only being a person who took someone's life, but seeing other individuals get killed inside of the prison. Right, you see people get stabbed in prison over some of the simplest things. No one
That's
would
why you
come
gotta be
and
cool with
talk to
everyone.
you about, like, was that triggering for you? How did you saw this person blood spill out over the concrete? Nothing, right? This is why I challenge the prison system and anyone who works in that prison environment to create more mental health services for those in prison, because yes, that person may have committed a violent crime, but we don't know their story.
I'm like that with the military, man.
Yeah.
There's not enough, in my opinion. It's not encouraged enough,
The VA helped me somewhat, right? I'm not going to say the VA didn't help. But when I was suicidal, I didn't call the VA helpline because I didn't want to sit here and fill out a strongly agree and disagree form and wait in a waiting room.
Ooh.
And I called another brother, and he sent me to a program called Save a Warrior, and I experienced something
nice little promo there.
Called initiation there. The participant faces their own death, and they receive a transitional object. And something about that changed my psyche, and something clicked. And we did stuff like the ceremony for the dead there, where we write the names of the people we've lost and the people we've killed, and we get to cry and feel and process and become human again, because war can break us, and prison can break us and make us incomplete and not human. And when we use different modalities to place that humanity back together, then we can have community, right? And community is the antidote to a lot of human suffering.
Yes, sir.
I wrote a 12-step program for vets and first responders.
He's a very knowledgeable guy, man.
Suicide
Not a dumb
Prevention
nigga
and Resilience
whatsoever.
Training Anonymous.
Oh,
We
he's
meet once a
spitting
week.
right now.
And I used to think there wasn't enough resources, and the more I get involved, it's not that the help isn't needed.
I don't
it's
like
that
how
there's
everyone just says
abundant
go therapy.
Ability to create resources, right? And once we break that, we start to be the creator of it. We create the small nonprofit that serves the area. It's like the Matrix failed.
I'd say only go therapy
That was long,
if
sorry.
you generally have don't know what to do.
Well, I have to apologize for chuckling
If
when
you
said that part, because
if you haven't tried yourself in solving whatever issue you have in your life, trauma, whatever, if you haven't tried solving it yourself, then go therapy. But try it yourself at least first before you go therapy, I would say.
I was like, oh wait,
But some
have
people
planned to
don't-
kill
they don't
people
think like
too,
that, though.
unfortunately. And then I used humor as my trauma response sometimes. So I strongly agree that I have the resources and the tools I need, because I'm gonna forever be on my healing journey.
Already?
I'm always gonna look for them and
It's been
find
a month
them.
already.
However, talk therapy, I don't think is very beneficial to a lot of
How
people.
are you though? Normal.
I think that a lot of
How are
therapists
you
need to
today?
learn about the nervous system.
Okay.
Because a lot of what we went through, we had to use our fight response. So I had to learn how to calm my nervous system to get to homeostasis, to the baseline.
It's like as a person of color, it's like growing up like as an immigrant, it's more like it is what it is. When you like things happen to you, it's like you don't really like, oh yeah, go see your therapist or anything like that. Especially working through the pandemic, I have never seen like
That was when you were
much
gifted
that
it. Was it when I started Wolf
in
Among
my
Us?
whole life, and I've been doing
That was at
this
the start
for,
of this?
time, like 10 years.
Wow,
and this was before the
Jesus.
vaccine, and I'm like, I don't see the
Shit's
end
crazy.
of this tunnel yet.
feels
For me
weird.
to quit the job would mean other people would die. And for me to continue this job, meaning I would die. And then that was the first time I'm like, I really don't know what to do right here. And that's the first time I'm like, wait, there's this thing called therapist. Maybe I should go talk to one. I wish it was more readily available and accepted at the same time.
They're expensive, aren't they, therapy?
Because none of my
Therapy's
friends
like-
go and see their therapist, and I can completely tell.
I've
them,
never
you
heard
wouldn't have
anyone-
certain
I don't think I know
amount of
anyone
issues
that's
if you
been
just
therapy,
kind
though.
of worked on yourself in a different way,
You know, to-
or maybe not therapist, but like a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just
like
spiritual
coaching
healers,
or
things
Right,
like that.
right here too. Again, I want to run over here. Right, went in prison at 19, walked out. I was 41, into a completely different world.
Jeez,
Right,
30
So
years.
now, like my organization, Path to Redemption, is that I want to provide that service. Like, how do
30
you
years.
cope with when you walk into a grocery store after 20 years and you walk in the self-serving line, you got to swipe that card and you don't know how, or you walk through a line and,
Bro,
and
it's
it
a new
beeps,
world.
right? And you thinking that is going to be tackled by the police because they think you're stealing something, right? And this is why, like you and I, individuals can create that.
You're gonna be made.
All right, so there is not by any means enough space to talk about. Like, I was
Yeah,
a
it went
foster
too
kid,
fast.
right?
Way too
So
fast.
I got raised in poverty and abuse and negative relationships. So what
I'm
did
trying to
I
think.
do
Let
when
me see
I
the
grew
start.
up?
Let me see a month
I
ago.
created poverty and I created negative relationships, right? And that type of a wound, it's such a cultural taboo that there's not a
month
space
ago, here we go, 4 weeks
to
ago.
talk about
Yeah,
that and
Wolf
the
Among
impacts,
Us.
and then what do we do and where do we go from there? So
So come on back over here. You got me feeling kind of. I was saying I wanted to do it, right? But I think that's important, man.
and everybody in this circle is a wounded healer and also a servant leader, right? So when we see a gap and something that's needed, it's not just us. So that's where a tremendous opportunity is to create and be of service to other people like us.
I would say
Spread
it
the
was
word.
dope talking to y'all, like learning the different angles of, because I was kind of like skirmish about that title Killer, but listening to all of the different facets and challenges of it, you know, I really appreciate it. For me, I go back to South Carolina and go back into the Department of Juvenile Justice and work with these young people. This is what I want to take back, right? Like this,
Yeah.
I want to take that.
Same boat, man. A lot of preconceived notions we have about people. I might look at you a certain way, you or you, and never would have had a clue that there's a commonality or something we can all
Humans
relate
are
on and learn
very,
from.
very
It's not
interesting.
every day you get to meet someone
So
that's
you just have to
taken
open your
life
mouth. That's all
or,
you have to do and
know,
speak to
and
them.
for me, it's made me feel alone at times and not be able to be understood by people because of the emotions and stuff that we have to go through.
Love you, vid. Okay. That was a long ass vid though. That felt long as fuck though. There's always good talking points in those type of vids.